it's Brian from XS MotorWorks and welcome back to the shop. So hey, it has been almost a year since I posted a video, and that doesn't mean we haven't been doing some work around here. It's just historically, this channel has been all about my personal projects. What I'm doing, you know, like my split decision project, the little Go Kart project. We actually do a number of things around the shop, and I just kind of have chosen not to kind of record that kind of going on. But as time goes on, we're doing more and more custom work, custom kind projects. And people have kind of said, you really should put that out there. People are going to be very interested in seeing what you're doing. So hopefully that's a true statement. We also are going to be kind of joining up forces. You've seen Anthony, and he's back around here. I'll bring him on in a second. And you've seen Rashad. So we're going to kind of go through the projects that you'll be seeing coming up on this channel. I still am building Project Split Decision. But right behind me, you see a little red Porsche. That thing's going to be out of here. I won't even talk about that. That was a little simple carb rebuild. The Alfa project is actually really pretty cool. That's a car that belongs to a friend of ours, Frank Ball. Probably put a link in the description. He goes by Ball Vice on Instagram and a couple other social media platforms. But there's actually multiple cars behind even the Alfa there. So I think what makes most sense is let's go ahead and move the camera over to those other projects, because that'll kind of tie into Project Split Decision, where we're going with this project, as well as the Go Kart and a couple other things Anthony's doing. So Anthony's got carbon fiber everywhere. So we're doing a lot more carbon fiber work, and it's very exciting. So anyway, let's move the camera and kind of go over the project. So first up in our project list, and we will be doing a video series on this thing. This is actually an Alfa Romeo GTV6. Frank Ball, a good friend of ours, bought this off Bringer Trailer, and it advertised it as being rust-free. Well, it had a lot of free rust because basically the whole floor was rusted out in the trunk. There was a lot of rust up all in the dash, and he originally just kind of wanted to keep this thing stock. But given the amount of rust, we've actually opted to do a complete conversion on this thing. So you can kind of see it right now. We've started fabricating a roll bar. It's going to have a complete integral roll bar, which we will cover in detail. It's going to be a hidden roll bar. So this is going to be used as a street car. He does run Crown Rallies, which is a street performance type setup. So we'll go through what we're going to do for this thing and cover it in detail. But it's going to be pretty cool because you will see this hoop. You'll see the main hoop, but everything else is going to be hidden behind the actual structures. We've already removed the covers down here on the rockers because they were basically all rusty. So we'll actually go ahead and fill in that with tubing. We'll cover that, like I said, as we build this car. This car is also going to end up having a much better engine than the original, probably in a different gearbox. One thing Frank likes to do too, and again, I'll put a link in the description here to his Instagram account. You can find him also on other social media platforms, but he actually likes to run really wide tires. Back a little while ago, we actually did a Porsche 944 wide body kit for him to bump that car out, and it's running some substantial rubber. So this car here is going to get the same treatment. So they do not make custom body flares, at least not what he wants to do for this car. So this car will be scanned. We'll be doing some CAD work, or actually Rhino work, creating those fenders, and then using the 5-axis machine to create the flares, like one-offs basically. So that'll be kind of exciting, kind of cool little project. So the other project we've got over here is something Anthony's working on. So project number 2 that we've got in the shop is this lovely wrapped Mclaren. It's a 600lt that came to us a bit injured, and so Anthony's actually taking the lead on that project. Anthony, what's going on with that thing?
Yeah, so our customer, he's brought us some other cars in the past, but
well, he's got an LFA. Yeah. We've actually had in the shop too. So yeah. Next time the LFA's in, we'll definitely make sure we get some footage of that.
Yeah, we have scanned the front of the LFA to make him a custom carbon fiber lip, so that's going to be another thing on the channel. But as far as this 600lt, it was at another shop. They brought it to the dyno. It has upgraded pure turbos on it and a M Engineering package. They were trying to make about 850 to the wheels. Unfortunately, somehow it got hurt. So we took it here. We did a compression test, leak down tests, looked it over. It's low on compression across the board. Leak down test is gurgling. So we think
gurgling's never good in a leak down test. If you just for a point of reference, if you don't know gurgling, bad.
Yeah. So we assume it's got cracked cylinder liners. We haven't actually pulled the heads off, but it definitely got some bent rods because it's real low on compression. But yeah, so we
so that's going to go off to Renaissance.
Renaissance up in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Kent Smith. And basically, he's gonna build us a titanium internal motor capable for 2,000 horsepower. We're not gonna push it that hard, but now at least—
Maybe to 1,000.
Yeah, so now like at 1,000, a little over 1,000 with the crank, it's gonna be safe. Our customer will be able to beat on it. As long as the tune's good, we are gonna be fine.
Because he actually likes beating on things. What we didn't cover is we actually had his Lexus in here.
Yeah.
And that Lexus has got the Stage 3 supercharger on it.
Yeah.
And that thing's putting out 7, 8.
Yeah, something like that.
So the guy definitely likes his toys, and we did not, unfortunately, get any footage of that.
That's an ISF.
ISF.
So and it's got a big supercharger on it, centrifugal style. It makes a lot of power, and we had it in here because it was throwing the belt a bunch. Yeah. So we were able to get that all solved and updated a bit on the car, and you know, we drove it around for a solid week, making sure the belt wasn't going to go, so we had a little fun. The customer told us to.
Yeah. So that's again, that's why I kind of really haven't posted video content. We've been working on a lot of customer cars.
So
then you actually go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I did want to say, so this thing the motor's out.
Can't see it. It's over there.
We'll pan the camera
We'll probably cover that whole crating and box. Well, maybe not the crating of it, but certainly when we reinstall it, that'll actually be its own series, because we're going to install it, take it to the dyno, test it. So we'll do a lot of video footage around that whole process.
We have the time lapse of pulling the motor. We made a custom cradle, steel cradle, that holds the whole subframe. The whole powertrain of this car comes out the bottom. So we made a whole steel cradle with pads on it and everything. So now we have the Mclaren set. Any people with McLarens come in here, we can drop their motor really fast. And,
because we probably have a 720 that potentially needs a clutch upgrade as well. So we're still going back and forth with that. But if you haven't kind of guessed too, our cars are not going to be the normal cars. So we're not doing a standard auto mechanic shop. So it is more of the high-end stuff, the odd fabrication stuff, which you'll probably see in the next video, because if everything works out, we're going to have some pretty crazy cars coming. I literally just have to pick them up. We're working with them right now. So tomorrow I've got to make a trip up to Fuel Tech and work with that car. And that'll be coming in for custom exhaust work. So anyway, and you can see a little cart. All right, let's talk about the little cart. Let me see. Let's turn the camera a little bit and we'll talk about the little cart. Okay, so in the last video, I was talking about the controller upgrade. We didn't make enough power and we're having some troubles. Well, that got solved. I will put a link in the description to my Instagram account if you haven't seen it. The cart actually is stupid fast. The problem with it is it only works when you're full on the throttle. So the motors still do fight. They don't fight as much as long as you're wide open throttle and you just kind of go. Full send. But practical purposes, this thing needs a lot more attention to be able to work at any kind of speed between, stop and go. So, and we just don't have the time. If you haven't kind of guessed, we've got all kinds of projects going on, and this really was a side project. It was really just for fun, and it's kind of consumed too much of my time right now, so we're going to put this to the side. Rashad did build his cart, and he actually, we never did any tests side-by-side, to be perfectly honest. My cart was definitely faster.
Yeah.
It was, his cart, it was cool and all, but this thing, it doesn't even, the tires are almost bald in the back because it just spins the tires. That was actually a big problem. Honestly, traction control is a huge problem. If you can kind of see in the screen the amount of tread depth. If these tires have, 5 miles, I don't even think 5 miles, 3 miles on them, I'm lucky. They just spin the tires as I'm going down the road. So we may get back to this someday if things slow down, but hopefully, honestly, this might just be grandfathered out there and as things kind of pick up. Let's talk about split decision now. So let me kind of spin things around. Anthony, you want to do the honors? So here we have a lovely SLC Superlite Coupe. They are really pretty cool. If you're not familiar with them, I'll actually put a link in the description so you can kind of look these things up. But as you can see, we've actually already started making changes to it. So the Superlite Coupe has been around for quite some time, and its body style started looking a little dated. The chassis is phenomenal. All aluminum chassis, aluminum component, or aluminum suspension components, really nice setup. However, the body is looking a little dated. So when Raul brought this car to us, he just really said, hey, you know what, I want to, can you actually just get it finished for me? He bought it in an unfinished state and needed it kind of basically put together. So in that process, we discovered that the kits as they are, the component kits, they require a lot of massaging. The lights didn't quite work as they kind of were designed to, and we'd have to make some modifications. And he was kind of a little hesitant on those designs anyway. Cars, like I said, looking a little dated, so kind of wanted to modernize it a little bit. So we've chosen to kind of put a new headlight in here. This is a headlight actually out of an Audi. It actually matches the windshield given the curved look. So the original process, or the process I went through to kind of get there, so obviously we have the original hood. We've applied a thin layer of plaster of Paris just to kind of roughly block this out to make sure this headlight was actually going to work properly. The headlight obviously has some depth to it, so we have to make sure we don't rub the tires or anything like that. So after we determined that, yes, this headlight could work for this design, notice the curve on the headlight, curve on the windshield, that actually works out really well. So this car has now been scanned in, and I'll cover that here shortly, but we scanned it in and have started lofting all of the surfaces off of here. And ultimately, obviously this isn't correct and that's not correct. This was supposed to just give us a general idea of how the car should look. Now that we've got the general idea worked out, what we're doing is kind of finalizing that with the owner, Raul. But if you look kind of closely here, pretty much looks like Project Split Decision. It's kind of taking that tone to it. Project Split Decision obviously has a flat windshield, and hey, put the camera up, so it's flat windshield. So this headlight really isn't going to work for Project Split Decision. That's why we got that light over there, which is out of a Lexus. So that headlight is flat, and it's going to match the characteristics of the flat windshield. Well, why am I saying that? Well, you notice there's one frame missing. Still got the other frame, but one thing that Project Split Decision had was steel frames. I don't want to use steel frames anymore. After working on the Mclaren, which is carbon fiber tub and aluminum back components, this car is all aluminum chassis. So we are going to, I made an executive decision when I say we, and we're going to make a aluminum chassis, very similar design construction to the SLC. This car is very much race tested and proven. We will still be using the Corvette suspension. This suspension is custom suspension. I really don't want to do a custom suspension. Should the cars get damaged, I want to be able to say, yeah, you can just go pick up your own suspension. But we will be making an aluminum tub now instead of, or aluminum chassis, instead of the steel chassis I was going with. That also means that some other design elements are going to change. Because I was going to steel, I was originally going to use that Honda cockpit. Well, that's going to be completely gone. Still use the Honda windshield, still use the Corvette rear back glass. The side glass is up for debate right now. It's also going to allow me to make some additional design changes. So the car, because I was using the Honda chassis, I was limited as to what I could get away with because I didn't want to make a whole lot of structural changes to that, meaning the the B pillar. The A pillar is fine, but the B pillar is what I'm really talking about. So now that I kind of scrapped that idea, that opens up a whole lot of design possibilities. So I'm pretty excited about that. Also in my original Project Split Decision, I was planning on making a custom headlight as well as custom taillights. That's kind of going out the window, and I just to keep the project moving, keep everything kind of go along. That's why I chose this Lexus headlight. I can actually get that one in there, get something going relatively quickly. Since we already will have a lot of our design characteristics, at least for the front, I can kind of take this, regraph some of this. Obviously, this light's a little bulbous or a little taller, but a majority of the design elements that I'm doing for this car will immediately transfer over to Project Split Decision. So it'll be SLC nose update, but then Project Split Decision will get a whole body redesign. But it'll still be in the same characteristics, same vein. So we're pretty excited about that. So I guess what I should do is probably go ahead and show you some of the styling cues that we're kind of already doing for this SLC project. And yeah, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here is the scanned image of the SLC. So as you can see here, let me just go ahead and get this perspective up. It's a little easier to rotate in this perspective. And obviously the scan is kind of rough, and that is by design. I did not need a super detailed reverse engineering scan for this part of the project. Basically, we're just trying to make sure we capture the proper loft lines from the scan so we can actually turn that into a real model, something that's editable and that we can actually then go and produce as an actual finished part. So to do that, I'll just give a super quick tutorial on how I went about taking a scan and turning it into an actual file that you'll see here in just a second. So what I need to do is, first of all, is just start lofting lines onto the actual surface. So I'll go ahead and pick two surfaces which I can create a line loft for. So we'll kind of start in this corner here, go back there, to there, to there. And that line, you can kind of see, I was clicking on the surface, but it automatically jumped to the very lowest position of this plane, this top plane. So I need to bring that up again so I can actually see it above the mesh, and so I can edit it. So these are all just 1 degree line right now. So what I'm going to do is actually change those to at least a 3 degree line, just so I can basically make them round, because right now they're just a bunch of straight lines. And you can see here that those lines are now becoming a lot more curvy. So there we go. I'm just doing this super fast just to give you an idea if you're not familiar with Rhino. So now that I'm pretty happy with that curvature, it matches the curvature of the model. What I'm going to do is actually take that line and put it back on the construction plane. So project C plane and delete input, yes. So that line now is back on the very bottom, and what I need is another line kind of mimicking that line from a different view. And to do that, I will pick the front plane. I can also pick the side plane, but yeah, you know what, let's do the side, that might be easier. So we'll have that line go from there to there to there, and one there and one there. And you can kind of see that line now. So that's actually going to end up being projected on the left, as you can see down the center there. And again, I'm going to change this to a 3 degree line. 3 to 3, and there we go. Oops, I did not change that. Pick that line. Oh yeah, it did. There's points. All right, so there's points. So what I can do is just come and get rid of some of these points. I don't want all these points, especially the ones that make it fixed. And there we go. Pick that point. It's, right now it's below the curvature, so I'll bring it above the curvature and bring some of these others above the curvature, just to give you an idea. So we can. That's obviously not even close to being the same line. But what I can do is, if I actually drew those a little bit cleaner, and this is how I started, is so I have those two lines, and I will take and say, give me a line between two curved views. So I take this one, I pick the bottom line, and I pick the side line, and what it did is, you can see it projected that curve on that model itself. And what's cool about this is now I can come in here and kind of really tidy that line up to basically make it much more organic looking, much smoother. By default, it's going to have just a ton of points. So way too many points. So I'm going to come here, just kind of clean this up, and let's make this a 5 degree line. So we have enough control points to move things around a little bit. And all right, so now you can see, obviously that doesn't follow the line there. So I'm just going to bring this over, make it follow that curvature a little bit more. Bring this over, tighten that line up. So now I just basically keep doing that until it perfectly matches the model. Or it's not perfect, but you know, it's got to be in the realm of functionality. So that's what I basically did to get the surfaces, the main surfaces that you're going to see now. So I'll go ahead and turn the scan off for a second, and I'll bring up the model that I've been working on. We have made multiple iterations of the model. Basically just keep working at it until ultimately it's you know, something that we're kind of happy with. So here it is. It's not finished, obviously. The front section here is nowhere near done, but I kind of ran into a stopping point. So I was working on the front opening here, and I do not have the structure underneath this. So what I need to do is go back in and actually model out the whole entire frame. which I wanted to do for my project split decision anyway. And then that'll let me kind of come back here and start grafting in where this line needs to live. I think this is too far out. There's also some mechanical elements down below here, so I don't know how far I can actually push this opening in. So this opening right now is literally just a placeholder / idea. The side is actually looking pretty good. We're pretty happy with this. Not going to change a whole lot, I don't think. We got this. I got to thicken up this surface. Obviously, make the spoiler, double the thickness. It's really just a surface right now. And obviously clean up this area. The attachment point isn't quite right. There's also going to be vents across the tire here that need to be kind of grafted in. But ultimately, that is where we're at for today, and probably a good stopping point. All right, so that kind of covers project split decision to a certain degree. Obviously, project split decision had a gas component and an electric component. And we haven't given up on electric, believe it or not. So to get that electric part started, or kick-started back up again, we're gonna have Rashad, and he'll be doing a lot of videos on his channel, but we'll also have him on this channel. We have started an electric MR2 project.
Yeah, so, I've had a couple of videos on my channel, some people may have seen them, where we scanned the Tesla motor, we scanned the engine bay of the MR2, second gen MR2, SW20, and now we're all teamed up, me, Brian, and Rashad, and we are getting this thing rolling.
So our goal is to have it at the MR2 Nationals
in May.
In May.
Yeah. They have a dyno day, road race,
we agreed to May,
autocross, and drag race day. So we don't know what kind of competitions we're going to be doing.
We don't even know if we can make it there in May. Yeah. What are you talking about?
We'll make it.
All right, Anthony's confident, so we'll go with that. So anyway, so that's probably a good stopping point. So we will have a lot more videos coming out. They're just going to be a lot of, I don't want to say random content, but we'll kind of like compartmentalize them. So there'll be a series on the MR2, there'll be a series on the Alfa, there'll be continuing work done on Project Split Decision, as well as a separate on the SLC, as well as videos on that McLaren and maybe the other McLaren we're getting. And then then we got the, I don't know if we'll hold off on telling you, but you'll see some announcements, and I'm not trying to be like that clickbaiter. I'm really not. We just got to finalize it. It's kind of a big deal. It's it's pretty cool. So we'll find out tomorrow, which is going to be for us. That's going to be Tuesday, the 15th, if that's going to come through or not. So it's going to be pretty exciting if it does. It'll be a lot of fun. He's a great guy, and so we'll see where that goes. So anyway, until next time, hey, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. Someday we may actually make money at this whole YouTube thing, but right now we're just having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.